How do you get from the today you have to the tomorrow you want? How do you design a plan that turns dreams into reality? Lakeland Community College. This is your how. Get started today at lakelandcc.edu/yourhow.
I picked Lakeland because I think out of all the other colleges, I think we have the best music programs. I think it's more diverse, I think is the way I'd like to put it. Because there's a lot of different programs we offer. It's a good amount of community, and also that it's fairly well priced, I think, compared to some of the big name universities. I ended up getting a 2-year scholarship originally when I left high school back in Mentor, and then I ended up deciding to come out, try the classes out here. I picked music mostly because I've been doing it for so long. I started when I was 4. I originally started on that instrument over there, the piano, and then as I grew up, I changed instruments to the cello, and I just fell in love with it. And it just became, I guess, my second identity in my mind, to be a musician. So it just kept going and going through the years, and I thought, if I'm gonna, pick a job career, why wouldn't I just pick a job that I've been doing since I was a little boy? It's just instinctive. I think the draw for me is just the emotion. I think it's the emotion that people get from different music, different genres bring out different things in people. And that's something I think a lot of people don't think when they think music. That's what I love about the music programs here. It really gives you a hands-on approach on everything you do. When I did, electronic music, I had a hands-on approach, and I got to make what I wanted to make. I got to promote myself. I got to promote what I like to do, and it correlated with people. And that's the same thing here with the orchestra. I love playing. I love, adding my own nuances in playing, and everybody does that just by playing the music. And so I would say the people, I would say the teachers, I would say the programs themselves, I would say it's just a really good atmosphere. I wasn't originally thinking, I always wanted to do music, but what drives me now was to be a music teacher, because I've never thought about being a teacher. And then I decided, after getting the Outstanding Music Award here at the college, that it just clicks for me. It just seems like something I should be doing, which is teaching people what I know.
For every why, there's a how. And it starts at Lakeland Community College. We'll help you design a plan that gets you exactly where you want to be. Lakeland Community College. This is your how.
Hello, my name is Adam Cloutier, and I am the Dean for Arts and Sciences at Lakeland Community College. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 49th year of the Lakeland Community College Jazz Festival. Before I introduce our events for the weekend, I would like to share a few items. First, I hope you and your loved ones are healthy and are navigating these challenging times the best you can. The last year has been difficult for many, and Lakeland wishes you and your loved ones health and happiness today and into the future. Second, the arts at Lakeland continue to provide opportunities to create amazing works of art and music. We thank you for joining us tonight and hope you participate with us in the future. As a quick overview, the arts at Lakeland consists of the Art Gallery at Lakeland, Civic Theater, and 6 civic music ensembles, including the orchestra, chorus, jazz orchestra, band, flute choir, and Jazz Impact. The gallery welcomes you to visit our website and participate in the virtual tour of our current exhibition. Civic Theater is currently making plans for a successful and safe reopening and asks you to join us when we reopen either this coming fall or next spring. Our music ensembles include over 200 community members as musicians and normally perform 20 concerts per year at Lakeland and off campus. Since in-person performances are not possible right now, our ensembles are hard at work creating a spring virtual concert that will be available online soon. I hope you can join us. Watch our website for details. Third, I hope you consider joining or supporting the arts at Lakeland. You can join us either in the audience, such as you are today, or by auditioning for a music ensemble. You can support the arts at Lakeland through financial donations. Donations of any size are appreciated to keep us operational and creativity flowing. Again, please see our website for more details. Okay, on to this year's festivities. Hopefully you were able to join us last night to watch the rebroadcast of the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra's 2019 Bop Stop performance, A Love Supreme, originally arranged for the Frankfurt Radio Big Band by Jim McNeely. Also, we are thankful for our many middle and high school musicians that entered solo recordings for adjudication. Finally tonight, I am thrilled to introduce our main event and an interview with Carol Welsman and a solo performance by Carol Welsman. Carol Welsman is an internationally acclaimed singer and pianist, and I believe we're in for a treat tonight. Without further delay, we will transition now into an interview time with Carol Welsman, which will be followed by her solo performance. Thank you for joining us.
I'm John Simna from IdeaStream, host of a jazz program that runs from midnight till 5 o'clock in the morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning at 90.3 WCPN. I'm also program host and music director on Cleveland's classical companion, WCLV at 104.9. As part of this year's virtual Lakeland Jazz Festival, we're going to be hearing a performance tonight by pianist and vocalist, Canadian-born, world-class performer, Carol Welsman. She's recorded more than a dozen albums and been nominated for Canada's Juno Award a half dozen times. Carol Welsman, a virtual welcome to Cleveland and the Lakeland Jazz Festival.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Have you ever actually been in Cleveland?
I certainly have. I've played Nighttown, the jazz club, probably, I would say 3 or 4 times now. So
Actually, the club has changed hands.
I heard that.
Oh.
I heard that.
They promised to keep it the way it was, so it'll be interesting to see when you return.
Oh.
But why don't we start this off the way any good interview starts off, begin at the beginning. How did you get into music? Why are you a musician rather than, say, a research chemist or a painter or any of myriad other possibilities?
Well, I have to say it's all my grandfather's fault because my father's father was the founder of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. He was very musical. My grandmother was very musical. My mother was very musical, and her family. So we children got the music gift from both sides of the family, and I just. As children, we studied classical piano. My mother was also a piano teacher, so she thought it was a very good thing to have all 4 of us, study classically, and then we all branched off into different styles. So I guess that's really the reason. We were so surrounded by music growing up. But there were 2 pianos going in the house all the time, and guitars lying around and drum sets, and it was sort of a and my dad would come home from work and he'd sit down and play by ear and play piano, and he played clarinet. So it was just a very musical environment.
Did any of your siblings go into music?
Yes, actually, my oldest brother is an award-winning composer and arranger for television and film. So his name is John Welsman, and and then my other 2 brothers formed a band about 25 years ago called the Welsman Brothers Band, and they had a whole repertoire of classic rock, and they would play corporate events and the odd wedding, and just but Paul, one of my brothers, had a full-time job, so that he only did that really on weekends. But it's all around.
Was there a point in your young life where you woke up one day and realized that music was going to be what you actually did full-time, specifically jazz? Was it something you always sort of knew from whenever you started playing the piano?
It actually was exactly like that, because my dad was a big band nut. He had all of Duke Ellington's albums and Count Basie and Woody Herman, and he took me to these concerts. When I was 12, I wanted to go with him. So at the age of 12, I started going to big band concerts, and I was too young to go to jazz clubs. But then a very close friend of the family introduced me to her husband's record collection, and they had everything from I mean, I was listening to the Double Six of Paris, which was a fantastic singing group, I'm sure you know, arranged by Quincy Jones. And I eventually studied singing with Michel Legrand's sister, Christiane.
Christine, yeah.
Yeah, and so listening to, I started lifting the harmonies and wanting to record these kinds of things myself. So I got the bug very early and actually changed high schools because there was a different high school in our area that had a fantastic music program. So I was able to play in the orchestra. I played violin and bass for a while and sang in a choir, just completely immersed myself. So I knew where I was headed.
I was going to ask, which came first in terms of what you do now, the singing or the piano playing, or did they just go together?
They sort of just go together, I think. I never dreamed of being a singer, just singing. In fact, I got up at the collegiate where I went to school. I was asked to sing a couple of songs with the big band, solo, standing up. And I felt like I had nothing on. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I was so scared and I suddenly thought, wow, my voice sounds totally different when I get up from the piano. And so they really are, and you could probably ask anybody who plays and sings. There's a magic that happens between the two, and they're very much joined together.
I was thinking of people like Nat Cole or George Benson or even Diana Krall. I've got early recordings of hers where she is a pianist primarily. Nat Cole in his early days was a really well-respected pianist. George Benson, good guitarist.
Oh, yeah.
And the singing kind of, in all cases, took over. But in your case, they were together.
Yes, they were. I never thought of myself as... especially when I was going to Berklee in Boston, I went for piano. I did not go for vocal because at the time they had a very small vocal department. And so I would sing on my own, and I sang when I had some dinner performances and stuff. I played in a club, in a beautiful restaurant there for a while. But I knew that I needed to be around all the other musicians and learn how to play in an ensemble. And I thought, gosh, I could take vocal lessons anywhere in the world, but where am I going to find all this concentration of great musicians, young and up and coming players? So that's exactly why I made that decision. But I just, they really do. I do concerts with orchestras where I'm standing up and I only sit down for one number. And you know what they say? Every time the critics write it up, they say, and the pièce de résistance was when she sat down at the piano and played A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. And I'm thinking, you just listened to the most beautiful symphony arrangements and you're pointing out the song where I stole the stage. And anyway.
Do you remember who might have been at Berklee at the same time you were? You're talking about world-class up-and-coming musicians. Any pop in your head?
Terry Lynn Carrington was there.
She has a wonderful new album out.
Yes, I haven't heard it, but I've heard great reviews. So, I've heard a lot of people say, I'll tune in after. Who else? Oh gosh, the names. Well, Diana Krall went to the school right after I did. And in fact, she's a close friend of mine. I haven't seen her now in a few years, but when she was living in Toronto, we would sort of support each other as far as, the whole music business, how do you do it and all that kind of stuff. We became good pals. But yeah, so she was there right after. But we had all the same teachers, and I'm trying to think of, now I'm just drawing a blank, but there was another drummer, an African-American, was his name Johnson or something? It's gone. It'll come to me.
Of course. Well, we'll change it. So I'm going to come back to Toronto and Canadian jazz. But right now I wanted to ask you, or state, this past year, the whole world has become familiar with the term gig economy, which pretty much before that was a musician's term. It went from one gig to another. Performers of all sorts have been involved with that for years. You're playing here, you're playing there, but you don't have a full-time employer. And you, as most other musicians, a year ago suddenly found yourself with no work, or at least without the ability to work. The way in which performers have adapted to that is pretty much amazing to me. What have you done, for instance?
Well,
Last year, suddenly every gig you had is canceled.
oh, it was yeah, nothing like nothing like really something happening overnight like it did. I mean, it was really shocking. We had planned, my producer and I, to have the band come over on that first Saturday. We locked down, I think it was the 14th or 13th of March. And there was a Saturday we were going to do a Facebook Live with all the musicians. So, of course, that never happened. But I went ahead and did the Facebook Live, and I had a little boom box on the piano, and I had my music tracks minus the piano and the vocal. And I just said, hi everybody. Because I had announced the Facebook Live earlier in the week. And so I said, well, here I am by myself because everybody's staying home. And so what ended up happening is my publicist said to me, well, maybe you should just start doing Facebook Lives on Saturday at 2:00 like you chose, so that people in Japan can tune in and people in Italy can tune in. It's late at night, but and that's exactly what happened. I think I did 12 weeks of them. And then I was up in Canada. I actually snuck up there and stayed. I had to quarantine for 2 weeks and everything. So, and I did one from up there. Then we shot a video for the duet song on the album. We shot a video on a lake up in Canada. So there was things that kept me busy. I got heavily into social media, which I'm not crazy about, posting on Instagram every day. I ran out of things to post, to be honest, but I have a gal who helps me, and she, but as far as continuing, we did one concert in August in Newport Beach outside on a patio, and the band, we loved it. It was great. And we did one performance in my living room on October 10th, and that was for Stage It. That was to launch the CD, and that's it.
Are you contemplating doing any recording? There seem to be a lot of recordings coming out that are literally, in some cases, recorded in A's bedroom and B's living room and C's, literally, yes, I won't even go into that part, but the engineer then takes all this and puts it together. They've worked maybe with a click track or whatever. Are you contemplating anything like that?
I have, the learning curve's been big. I've enjoyed learning how to edit an iMovie and learning. I purchased a mixing board, and my drummer, Jimmy, set the piano mics up. You'll hear the sound in the concert. It's really like a studio quality. It's quite clear and crisp and everything. So I'm set up to do all kinds of things, and yet I really, really, really lack inspiration. And I don't have a plan to record again. We did a Kickstarter campaign for the last album, and I don't know. I guess it's hard to say. I'm becoming fluent, or I'm almost fluent in my fourth language now. So I'm studying Spanish full time, and watching TV in Spanish, and I take courses online, Zoom classes. So I'm not sitting around doing nothing, but music has kind of taken a backseat for a little while. Now, having said that, we just lost 10 days ago one of the most fabulous musicians, Jeremy Lubbock, who was a world-class arranger. In fact, yeah. In fact, when I met Johnny Mandel once, and I at Herb Alpert's club here, and I said, "Oh, Johnny, I'm a very close friend of Jeremy Lubbock's. In fact, I sing his song demos for him." And I said, "Oh, he's moved to South Africa." And he said, "Good, less competition." Because that's the thing, among the really big arrangers, that he was a real name. So what I'm trying to move into here is that in 2016, my husband and I went to Africa on a safari, and we actually visited Jeremy. I documented the whole visit with 2 cameramen in his studio, and we talked about his favorite music, and we did all these things, and I have it on a flash drive, and I am so happy I did it, because he wasn't well back then. He was, he was much better than lately, but he passed away. So now, Between that time that I visited there, between 2016 and up until about just before the pandemic, Jeremy was sending me almost a song a week, his original songs, and one was more beautiful than the next. And I feel so blessed that I actually have, because he would send them to me and I would sing the vocals and play the piano. And I know how he wants to hear it with the certain reverb and the certain electric piano sound. And I would send them back to Cape Town. So I have all these songs in my little treasure box. And if I were to do anything, I would do an album of Jeremy's music because the world has to hear it.
Yeah, there's so much music that one of the regrets is there's never going to be enough time to hear everything I want to hear. And people keep writing more music, and great music too.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back. You were talking about going to the Berklee School and your education. The Lakeland Jazz Festival, now in its 49th year, is
Wow.
basically an educational event. I mean, it's all centered around young players and bringing in world-class performers. Last night's Cleveland Jazz Orchestra, which is as world-class as you're going to get anywhere. And you tonight, and that's part of their history. Do you, with your busy schedule, I'm sure you don't have time to be an active, direct teacher, but do you do clinics, seminars, and that kind of thing?
Yes, I actually did a clinic last time I was in Cleveland, and I teach very part-time here at a school called LA Music Academy in Pasadena. And I taught for many years actually at the University of Toronto when I was in Toronto. But now it's more like when it's a very small school, so they would have, for example, they have a duo class. So the students have to, and with the department head of the vocal department, we decided who we would want to bring in for 2 weeks, two classes out of the 10. So we would have 5 different musicians coming in for at least 2 classes, so the students could bring a song in, work with that soloist, and then take their arrangement back with all these ideas and sort of perfect it and come back and perform it again. So I would jump in and do that class for the semester when there were enough kids at that level to do it with. So that, or also a jazz improv class. They usually ask me to do those. So I really enjoy it. I love doing clinics.
Mm-hmm. You said the word duo in there. Do you mean that literally as a duo performance, vocal and
Yes,
drums or bass?
Well, in fact, yeah, you wouldn't. Do you know the instrument they loved the most was cello, and there's a cellist here who is his name is Artyom Manukyan, and if you've never heard of him, you could check him out on YouTube. He's crazy. He does everything but classical, so he's the perfect person to have because they will come in with a chart, and he will play. You know, he can play harmonies on all with the 4 strings. He certainly and he does things very rhythmically. So that's a lot of fun. There are 2 weeks with piano, which are fun for me because that's easy. And then 2 weeks with my drummer Jimmy Brantley, who's Cuban. And because he plays percussion, he brings a lot of different colors of instruments in. And so the students they're completely wowed because they have to suddenly understand the harmonic structure of the song really in their core because nobody's playing it, there's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so bass, the same thing, bass. And of course, if the bass has a 5-string, they play some harmonies up top, and he can, that sometimes they can comp bossa nova and things like that. So it gets very interesting.
Yeah, I think Sheila Jordan may have been the first one I heard doing just vocal and bass. Whole albums with. She did that several times in her career, and I've seen a fair number of recordings lately that are duo, sometimes vocal and bass, and sometimes trumpet and bass or whatever. But duos leave you hanging out there, I would think.
Well, and it's less people to travel, John.
Oh, it's that too.
But I mean, I find that quite fascinating, especially when you've got a bass player who's got a really great pocket, and it's really swinging, or whatever style of music. It's fun because as the singer or as the trumpeter or who minus the percussion and minus all those things that make it kind of easy to groove together, the onus is on you as the singer, in my case, to really make it swing. Like you're dancing together in something like this. And I think that's fascinating.
Marty Elkins and Mike Richmond. That's the one I was trying to, a very recent one.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff. So here you are, you're doing a seminar, you're talking to kids. What do you tell them? Obviously it's going to be different if you're talking to young beginners or maybe high school students or college students, but do you have a sort of general bit of advice?
I do. One thing I found, because I had a huge challenge early on in my career. I had polyps on my vocal cords when I was 20 years old, and I was told that I would never regain my singing register. And that's a very difficult thing to hear when you're 20 years old. I, of course, defied all odds, and Christiane Legrand, Michelle's sister, helped me out of that. But it took about 15 years to get over. So I was battling with a vocal condition where I couldn't produce a really clear sound that I wanted to produce. So what ended up happening is I concentrated on the feeling, because I loved all through my jazz years listening to Shirley Horn, and she to me is the quintessential singer with feeling. I mean, she never, I think she might have an octave range. That's about it. And yet, wow, she'd put her hands on the keyboard and start singing, and she'd knock me out. So getting back to the message for students of any age, when you're singing, especially, our job is to convey a message to people. We are channelers of, just like an actor conveys the script. So if you're singing A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square, of course, I have the advantage of coloring with the piano. That's why I like to be able to play, because I know what's coming up, because I'm controlling that. But even if you're not, and you're just singing, you've been given if you're singing a standard, it's likely a beautiful lyric with a beginning, middle, and an end. You're telling a story, and how you want, if it's a sad story, you want people to cry. You want to make them cry. You have to touch them. And that's not always done by marvelous technique with a beautiful vibrato and let's hold that note for 60 seconds. I mean, those things are things you practice at home. But when you get on stage, you're now at, these people are coming to hear, they're coming to take something home, and you have to be feeling it, because if you're not feeling it, they won't feel it. That's my message.
That phrase, you mentioned the quality of the voice. Billie Holiday, there's a very recent film about her, and the voice quality, especially toward the end of her life. But I remember the first time I heard one of her recordings, from the 30s even, and I got chills. And then a couple of years ago, I saw the video, the one from the CBS television show, the name of which has just gone out of my head, but a Sunday afternoon hour that was devoted to jazz. And Lester Young was playing, and she was singing, and I cried.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, so I know what you mean. It's I have moments like that too, often, and that's what you need to do. That's what you need. Your job as a trumpeter or a guitarist, it's a little bit harder for them because they don't have the lyrics. They should know the lyrics to the song. I remember somebody saying that, but as a singer, oh my gosh! I mean, the onus is on you to color. You've got all the colors in your palette, and I love when people come up after a concert. That's when I know I've done something good and I've done my job. When they say, "Oh my God, you made us laugh, you made us cry, we wanted to dance, that's the whole idea. But getting there, and I'll just say quickly that one of the most beautiful things that's happened at clinics that I've done, even with teachers, I've had teachers who are not necessarily singers, but they're music teachers. I remember this happened up in Quebec once. Actually, it even happened in Cleveland at Tri-C. I was at Tri-C. I'll give that example. There was a gentleman, a young student who got up and started to sing. And I don't think he could have been further away from us. He was just up there doing the thing. He was singing the line and he was delivering the line. And I got up and I said, well, that was very nice. I said, let's do this again. And I stood next to him and I asked him questions about the lyrics. I forget what he was singing. I'd have to give you an example of something, but it might be something like "Don't Get Around Much Anymore." Mm-hmm. And I'd say, what did you miss last Saturday? I missed the Saturday dance. What did you hear? I heard the crowd of the floor. Well, I can't remember the line. It's something like, it's awfully different without you.
Without you, don't get around much anymore.
Yeah, and I say, and then when he would say, don't get around much anymore, and I'd say, yes, pass the peas. It doesn't sound like you're sad that you're not getting around much anymore. So let's try that again. And and it was a different song, pardon me, because I can't remember the song, but it was one that was quite romantic and maybe more of a ballad. And he sang it again for the audience and he got a standing ovation. But it was night and day. And all it was connecting him, because of course I didn't have time to work on the technique, but just connecting him to the lyric. And then he didn't know some of the lyrics. And I said, do you see how you really need to know your lyric? Because you're telling the story. So anyway, it was lots of fun.
Speaking of the younger generation, do you find somebody's always saying or writing an article saying jazz is dead? They've been saying that since 1927, I suspect. When they really mean what you're doing is not what I think of as jazz. But pop music has evolved so much since the 20s, when jazz was actually pretty much a popular music. How many kids do you find that are interested in it? I look at things like the Lakeland Jazz Festival or other jazz festivals or jazz classes, and there seem to be a lot of kids looking into that. Some of them are really heavily into the music, and some are at least investigating it because they're interested in seeing what's going on. You see that sort of thing when you're doing seminars, clinics, or even in your audiences?
Well, there certainly is I must say that in the audiences pre-pandemic, the age group is more, I would say 45, 50 and older. I mean, but there are 20-year-olds and there are 16-year-olds who are instrumentalists, and they might be playing in a school band, and their parents are taking them to the concert. And sometimes the younger generation comes up and says, I really don't like jazz, but I like what you're doing. So that line I just love. But I totally see, because I also classify my vocal jazz as jazz with a spoonful of sugar on top, because I don't want to alienate people, and I don't play, Oscar Peterson technique and stuff like that. I'm more like a Bill Evans, Count Basie school of piano.
Oscar sang occasionally too.
And beautifully. Oh, he had a lovely voice. And so, but because I have been kind of out of the loop on the teaching, I must say that at the LA Music Academy, a lot of the students there want to be the next Adele, and they want to be the next Billie Eilish, and all the young and up and coming singers. They take the jazz courses because they have to. There are a couple of them anyway, introduction to standards and things like that. So I wish I could say more about that, except that most of my band members, let's say in Toronto, they teach at either the University of Toronto or Humber College, and their classes are full, absolutely full. And they're making it fun, because it's not just swing. They're not just doing 1920s music or 1940s music. They're incorporating funk and I don't know, world music. And, it's a pretty broad spectrum. So I think that's how they're keeping people, as you said, intrigued, even to kind of look in and take a listen.
We can talk more about that later on, but it's always been my contention that jazz has always been a fusion music, even long before they coined the term. Go back, St. Louis Blues has a tango strain in it. And a lot of it does. A lot of the early jazz players stole from the classics, and Fats Waller could take any pop tune of no quality whatsoever and turn it into something interesting. I mean, trace your way forward, they keep borrowing from what's popular. Latin jazz music got incorporated into it, well, even before the 40s, I think. What's his name? Mario Bauza was working in the late 30s with incorporating Latin into jazz and vice versa. But I digress, as I frequently do. We were talking a little bit about your audiences there. How do you go about choosing a set list? Is it different if you're doing a concert performance on a stage as opposed to playing in a club? Of course it is. But what kind of things do you take into consideration?
Well, that's a very good question because, for instance, when we play at Vibrato here, which is Herb Alpert's beautiful club, it's wonderful, except that as the evening goes on, the voices get louder and louder as people drink more, and the clanging of the dishes and everything. You
don't react like Charles Mingus was known to threaten bodily his audiences when they did things like that. Anyway.
Well, it's sort of it's well known here that you play vibrato, you're not going to have everybody's undivided attention. I mean, I've gone and seen Seth MacFarlane there, and he can't keep everybody quiet either with a 30-piece orchestra or 15-piece orchestra on stage. So, and his performances are sold out months before. So I would say yes, it's quite different between a club and a theater. For a theater, I start to get into some kind of a rhythm as we tour. The more we tour, let's say a new album and adding some songs in from previous albums, I find that that I keep kind of going back for that whole year. I'll go back to starting the concert with those first 4 songs because they just work well. One's a solo or it's a duo, then the musicians come out on stage, we build the size of the orchestra. That's an interesting way of going too. Why have all the quartet out on stage to start? I can sing by myself. And then like start a concert with a ballad. That's pretty daring.
Yes, it is.
So I would say I have sort of 2 or 3 different kinds of lists. One would be, as I said, building the orchestra as you go. And then another one where it gets in quite quickly into, maybe my favorite things at a very up-tempo thing where it goes into Latin on the bridge, and then going into a nice soothing samba, and then a little bit slower to blues. So there's a definite shape to it. So I find that I sometimes get a little stuck on, those first 4, but there are so many songs to play after that. It's fun to change around.
Do you ever find yourself changing horses in midstream, as it were, if you're halfway through the concert and the audience is maybe not reacting the way you thought you changed, or does something suggest to you to play something different than what you had originally intended? That's harder with a large group, but if you're doing solo or even quartet, I should think you could say, let's do 327 in books or whatever.
Yeah.
Does that happen often?
It doesn't happen that often, but it has happened. It's more or less, rather than changing, the whole direction of a concert, it's more, I would say, it would be a certain tune or something. Like, let's say we're in the second set and wow, we're really short. Like we need to play 15 more minutes and I've only got 2 more songs or something like that. I'll pick something out, or I'll just start playing I Like Men because it's on the piano. And
cue the drummer, he's got it.
Yeah. So, just lengthen the solos. I know that's always a thing. But no, there are times where I'll completely feel like changing, song number 10 with song number 7. And I'll just say, guys, let's throw it, just swap it out. And they're used to it. But most of the time they're reading music. So I don't like to do that very often unless I'm really, because then, more is on the iPad now, like a lot of work electronically. But I mean, you don't want music sort of falling off stands and everything. So
That does happen. The thrill of live performances. Let's talk a little bit about women in jazz, if you don't mind. Um, on the one hand, if you search through historic records, there have always been a few prominent women players. You could go back and find Lil Hardin Armstrong or Mary Lou Williams, or there was a trumpet player named Valida Snow who attracted a lot of attention back in the 40s. They were there, but obviously there was resistance as well. And that resistance continues to this day, it seems to me, from an outside perspective, although there are a lot more women performers and composers, Ria Schneider. What are your experiences? Did you, when you were younger or at school, encounter musicians who said, this was not for young women to play?
I somehow kind of got away. I never really did experience that, because when I was saying to you that, I guess maybe because I was studying piano and I wasn't studying, saxophone or something. And being not only the pianist and vocalist, I'm the arranger for up until this last album. That my Dance with Me album is arranged by Oscar Hernandez, because it's Latin jazz, and I don't know how to arrange that kind of music. But so wearing the arranger's cap as well, and also being a composer, like on most of my albums, there are at least one or two songs that are original songs. So for some reason, because of the fact that I can conduct a proper rehearsal with the band, and I go with them, and I don't get lost, and I for some reason I've never really felt any of that resistance. I'm sorry that there is, and I think part of it is it's just and I have to admit, when I see a woman playing saxophone, it doesn't look right to me. I can't tell you why, but it doesn't. And if there are any women saxophone players watching this thing, you're all going to turn it off. But it's not fair of me to say that. I think of women flute players, jazz flute players, women piano players, even bass, because of even the Wrecking Crew bass player, her name escapes me now, but she was one of the top studio players here. Played on most of the pop albums for 30 years. So maybe it's that I just, I love seeing a woman bass player. I love listening to bass player singers. I know a few of them.
Just blanking out, there are a couple that I heard. One of them played with Les Paul.
Oh, Nikki Perrott.
Yeah.
Nikki and I, we recorded together on the last album. We did a show at Nighttown in Cleveland. We put the show together an hour and a half before. That's when we met.
I've seen her. Her sister, it seems to me, plays bari sax.
Is that what she plays? I knew she was a musician. Yeah, we have a tour booked in Japan in November that canceled last May. So she and I and Jimmy Branley, my drummer, are going on tour, and she's going to sing, and I'll sing with her. And it's great.
Singer as well as a wonderful bass player.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about influences on you. We mentioned a couple of singer pianists. What sort of things did you listen to when you were a child that led you in this direction? Or maybe when you were a teenager or even an adult? Who do you listen to and say, I can take something from what they're doing?
Well,
what are you drinking?
Oh, I'm drinking soda water with lemons from our tree. I know. It's very warm here, and we have a beautiful lemon tree. What influenced me the most when I was growing up was Carole King and James Taylor, because though my dad was a jazz lover and loved Peggy Lee and had great Frank Sinatra albums and everything else, I listened to those, and but when I really started on guitar and piano, it was all Carole King and James Taylor. And I just loved the fact that she played and sang. And so it started to really come together with that music. But then listening to jazz, and my father also had Sergio Mendes records. And when I heard Mais Que Nada, I think it was 11. I started singing that in Portuguese. And my parents would come into the den and say, "You're dancing around and singing in Portuguese. Why don't you just sing the English songs? It's so difficult for you." I said, "Oh no, I love the sound of it." So I was already hooked on Brazilian music at 11. Like that was, I knew that there was something going on there that I really had to check out. So, and then the teens, it was mostly my friend's husband's record collection. Everything. Andy Williams. I was telling you about the Double Six. Mark Murphy. Ella Fitzgerald. The first album I ever bought was Ella and Oscar. I just loved the two of them together. That was, and then Ella. Sorry.
I remember it well. There's just a very recent release of Ella in Berlin, 2 years after the famous Ella in Berlin.
Yeah.
Just came out a few months ago. Yeah. Anyway.
Beautiful. Well, and I loved, oh, not at all. I loved listening to Ella because I realized how important it was to scat and know what you were singing and scat well. And with the basis of the piano, I enjoyed being a scat singer, and I felt like I did know what I was doing. And then I also developed a bit of I was really copying Tanya Maria, of all people, and George Benson, but playing and singing unison solos. And now I've incorporated block chords in my solos, like a big band, like a shout chorus. And that actually was, somebody said to me along the way, "Oh, you should do that." And nobody's really doing that. So sometimes people say, "Well, what makes you sound different?" Well, there's one thing that's, kind of developed over time. But growing up too, though, I listened to Stevie Wonder, George Benson, Al Jarreau, Sting, Keith Jarrett, Herbie Hancock, Patty Austin. Patty was one of my favorite singers because she was very unaffected. She really had it. And I loved Sarah Vaughan and Al Fitzgerald, of course, Peggy Lee. So, but somehow in all of that, you have to kind of try and find your own, you listen, you absorb everything, and then you have to kind of carve your own niche out of that, or sound, or.
You mentioned Sergio Mendes, and gosh, I remember when it was Brazil 65 and then Brazil 66, and then they stopped adding the numbers in. But some of the material on your new recording, I thought immediately of Sergio Mendes. Just one or two of the pieces had that influence, it seemed to me. Maybe when you were duetting with, I'm blank on who was singing.
Juan Luis Guerra, yeah.
Bit of that sound.
Well, that's interesting. Now, Juan Luis Guerra, who I had the pleasure of meeting back in 2017, is he's Dominican. He is the James Taylor of Latin music, and that's such a great term for him because he is not really a Latin jazz player. He plays bachata, which is a very specific kind of rhythm out of the Dominican Republic. And of course he can sing salsa. He's improvising on the duet because Oscar did such a great arrangement and he opened up the song. The song is Juan Luis's, so it has a bit more of a pop tendency to it as far as the harmony goes. But that's I consider that a compliment if that's what you're hearing on that, because Sergio Mendes I have great respect for and love. Anything I hear of his is so memorable and inspiring. So I certainly can't help but have some of that seep in every once in a while, because that Brazil 66 album was really the one that that changed my life.
What about current things? What do you listen to when you're not listening to jazz or playing jazz or writing songs or considering arrangements? Do you turn on Bach partitas? Do you turn on rap or whatever? I'm out of touch, I will admit, with most of the current pop music.
That's okay. That's okay. Do you know, I don't listen to a lot of music anymore. I don't. It's not because I don't want to. I have a lot of music in my head. It's like an ongoing radio station. If I were to turn on the radio, I have everything set, real jazz. I listen to satellite, and I've got the K Jazz station here, which is local. And I sort of flip through them, and seriously Sinatra.
They're local, but I have them on my internet radio.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. And Bubba Jackson is a big fan. He's there, and I just love him. So I tune in and I listen to the Latin Jazz show there when I can, when I'm in the car and stuff. But for some reason, I'm not. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm also married to somebody who's a criminal defense lawyer. He's not a musician, and he'll be the first to tell you that he would rather not sing, even though he's delightful when he does. But it's with all the musicians gone, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the pandemic that's caused this. But I listen when I'm in the car, as I told you, just to sort of flip through it, and I'll take a picture of the screen if there's an up and coming, there's an artist I've never heard of, and I go and check that out. But I also like to listen to the pop station because it's fascinating to hear how pop music is changing. So I don't love all pop, but I listen to it. And the Latin station and En Vivo has some great songs that come on that I've never even heard, and the beautiful rhythms and everything. So it's just to keep me entertained while I'm driving around. But I don't know. I'm more in a linguistic mode now.
Let's talk a little bit, because your concert is coming up in the immediate future as part of the Lakeland Jazz Festival. What can we look forward to in that?
I'm wondering if I remember.
Do you want to say anything about it? Do you want to say anything about what you're going to play, or should it be a big surprise?
Sure, I'd like to leave it as a big surprise, because it was also kind of a sad surprise to me that my musicians still didn't want to come over, because we have a very big living room here, and we could have distanced, and that was kind of the plan. But I can't force people to leave their homes in a pandemic. So the one thing I'd like to say is that I did want to mix it up and do some solo. You'll have a little bit of everything, because I do some songs on my own, and then I place to track on some of the songs, and some songs from some previous albums as well. So I'm certainly promoting the music of Dance with Me, the new Latin jazz album. But there's a nice. Hopefully you'll find a nice variety of songs in there. Good presentation.
Unpaid ad. I will highly recommend that recording. I've brought it home and listened to a few times through. So 4 stars.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You talked earlier about Toronto, and I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about the Canadian jazz scene in general. I have very fond memories of a couple of visits to Toronto, including one. There was a club back, it was 1984. It was our honeymoon. Café de Copain.
Oh, yes.
And my wife talked to the head waiter. Kenny Drew Sr. was playing. And I sat down next to the piano. Prop your jaw back up. Just listen. What's the Toronto jazz scene like? There seem to be a lot of hotbeds all around Canada. Vancouver, with people like Corey Weeds, who's a real mover and shaker. Toronto, there's so much going on. Get things down from Quebec from time to time. From your distance, you're in California as we speak, but what's your point of view on the Canadian jazz scene? There's a heck of a lot of music coming out of there.
Yeah. Well, they're very strong music programs in British Columbia, in Vancouver, and also in Montreal at McGill and Concordia universities. So they're producing a lot of great musicians. So I find that when and Toronto, the same thing. Those are the areas where, those are the 3 cities where there seems to be a lot more action. And it's also because there's just a lot more people who are learning to play, and they move from different cities in Canada to those places because the programs at the universities are just that much stronger. So that creates, again, that sort of hotbed of interest of people playing, and there are lots of restaurants that have music 3-4 nights a week. I'm almost familiar with Montreal more than Toronto these days. Toronto, there was a club called the Top of the Senator, and it was sold, and it's the man who owns it now I think he owns Sunwing Tours or something. He has a tour company that goes down to the Caribbean in the winter, or vacation packages. But he's a frustrated musician, and I think he even books himself in his own club. So, and the name is
George Wein.
Sorry?
George Wein used to do that with the Newport Jazz Festival. He'd book himself on piano with all-star groups.
I didn't really know that. I never played that festival. So, there's also, so his club is right down. It's the same place, the Top of the Senator. They've renovated it, and I've played there during the jazz festival. But there's quite a bunch of series. Like there's a place called the Old Mill in the West End of Toronto, and it's an old mill. It's a hotel. They have conference halls and rooms for weddings and all those things. And now in the big dining room, they have a jazz series every weekend. So things are cropping up, and some may be having a tough time now, of course, with the pandemic. But I would say that there's a lot of live music in Toronto, for sure, and a lot in Montreal, too. There's Dies Once, there's Upstairs Jazz, and it's actually downstairs. It's not upstairs, but that's a cute name.
Like the Cellar Jazz Club.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You mentioned one thing just to pursue. You talked about the gentleman at the travel agency. Did you ever play any of these jazz cruises?
I have never played a jazz cruise. And I'd love to.
Yeah, I'd like to go on one myself.
I know. Well, I'm a Yamaha artist, and they even have cruises where they take some of their Yamaha artists, and you're not only performing, but you're doing a keyboard class, let's say, because they actually have music lessons on some of these cruises, like a little keyboard mini class. So anyway, but every musician wants to go on the cruises because they're so fun.
I would think.
Oh,
Everybody's a critic.
oh, Boomer, that's enough, sweetie. Oh no, Boomer wants to go on the jazz cruise too.
Well, that sounds good to me. I'll ask you one last question. With all of the people you see, is there someone whom you would champion right now? Is there a performer, singer, instrumentalist, pop music, any field? Is there someone you would say, you really have to listen to this person? They have something to say.
Oh, have I met somebody rather than suggesting something? Wow.
Hard question.
Sorry, it is a hard question also because, again, I feel we've never been in this situation where
Right.
I can't say, oh, gee, I went to the Blue Whale last night and I heard a great, and then, yes, and tell you who it is. I haven't heard a note of music anywhere live for a year. So I'm afraid you might have stumped me on that.
That was an old thing on The Tonight Show on Johnny Carson's day. Stump the Band. When Doc Severinsen was there and Clark Terry. And whenever the band was really stumped, they'd point to Clark and he would do some scat singing and incorporate the title into it.
Oh, you did remind me, but it's not she's not up and coming. She's been around, but one of my favorite singers now is Jasmea Horn. She completely blows my mind.
Yeah.
And she's worth checking out she can scat like the best of them.
Next time I go into the studio to record a program, I'm going to have to dig her out now. I know I've got a couple of her recordings. And we have your recording, your 13th recording as a leader, Dance With Me. I've been talking with pianist and vocalist Carol Walsman, who is this year's special guest. It's the 49th Lakeland Jazz Festival, a virtual jazz festival this year, and today is the concluding performance of this year's festival. It's going to be coming up in just a few moments. And we'll be hearing on that performance from Carol Welsman. Carol, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
You're so welcome. It's been a real pleasure. And I hope everybody enjoys the concert.
Hi, it's Carol Welsman, and welcome to the Lakeland Jazz Festival. It's so fun to be here with you today, and I wish my musicians were able to join us, but you know they're staying home and staying safe. So we're going to manage to have a great time. I can feel it right now, and I'm going to play some music from my new album, Dance With Me, for you. To some tracks, which is exciting. So there will be lots of percussion, lots of Latin percussion. And I'm also going to mix in some of the gems that I have recorded over the years, songs that I just really, truly love, like this one by Peggy Lee. Maybe he has sandy hair. Maybe his eyes are brown or blue. Maybe he has a fault or two. I like men. If he has a gentle way, maybe he'll make me feel so frail. Well, that's my favorite kind of male. I like men. I like the masculine. I like the mind. And I like any other kind that I can find. For the way that I feel, it's not hard to decide. I'll take Southern hospitality or Lakeland pride. And maybe he's a millionaire, or maybe he's poor, I just don't care. Why, he can even lose his hair. I like men. Masculine, I like the mind, and I like any other kind that I can find. For the way that I feel, it's not hard to decide. I'll take Southern hospitality or Northern pride. And maybe he's a millionaire, or maybe he's poor, I just don't care. Why, he can even lose his hair. I like men. They can be big, they can be small, they can be short, they can be tall. Well, bless them all. I like men. I'd like to continue with the Peggy Lee theme right now, because this is a song that I learned when I was about 11 years old, because my father was a huge fan of Peggy Lee and had a great album called Beauty and the Beat. And it was Peggy Lee being accompanied by the great George Shearing on piano. And this was a really fun arrangement that they did, a swing arrangement. So I decided to change it to a samba, and then my Latin musicians got a hold of it and added a whole bunch of other flavors to it. This is called Do I Love You? Do I love you? Do I? Doesn't one and one make two? Do I love you? Do I? Does July need a sky of blue? Would I miss you? Would I? If you ever should go away, would the sun deserve the day? What would life be? shore. And if I promise you forever, it's for heaven forevermore. Do I love you? Do I, oh my dear? It's so easy to see. Don't you know that I do? Don't I show you I do? Just as you love me. Would I leave you? Never. Would the ocean leave the shore? And if I promised you forever, darling, isn't heaven forevermore? And do I love you? Do I? Oh, my dear, it's so easy to see. Don't you know that I do? Don't I show you I do? Just as you love me.
I have to tell you that this next song I wanted to record so badly because I had never heard it before. It was sung by Bobby Short, and I learned it from a woman who is the owner of a restaurant here in Los Angeles called The Ivy. And she's quite a jazz fan. In fact, we were waiting for lunch one day, and all of a sudden I heard the music in the system, and I turned to my friend Dorothy and I said, "That's me singing." So she had programmed one of my songs into her song list, which I thought was really sweet. So she made me a whole CD of songs that she thought would that I would like, and this was one of them. This is called "Sand in My Shoes." Great lyric.
Sand in my shoes, sand from Havana, calling me to that ever so heavenly shore, calling me back to you once more. Dreams in the night, dreams of Havana, dreams of a love I haven't the strength to refuse. Darling, the sand is in my shoes. Deep in my veins, the sensuous strains of a soft guitar. Deep in my soul, the thunderous roll of a tropic sea. Under the stars, that was Havana. You are the moonlit memory I can't seem to lose. That's why my life's an aimless cruise. All that is real is a feel of the sand in my shoes. Deep in my veins, the sensuous strains of a soft guitar. And deep in my soul, the thunderous roll of a tropic sea. Under the stars, oh, that was Havana. You are the moonlit memory I can't seem to lose. That's why my life's an aimless cruise. Oh, under the field, there's a field of the sand in my shoes, darling, the sand. You are the moonlit memory I can't seem to lose, darling, the sand is in my shoes.
We started planning the Latin jazz album Dance With Me in the fall of 2019, and I was invited to be on a Christmas show up in Montreal, Canada, and in November of 2019, and I didn't realize, but Randy Bachman of Bachman Turner Overdrive was going to be on the same Christmas show. And little did I know that very soon after arriving there, when I was having my makeup done in the makeup chair, he was next to me in the chair. So I proceeded to strike up a conversation with him, and I told him how much I loved his writing, and especially one of my favorite songs of theirs was a song called Looking Out for Number One, because it's a bossa nova. And I told him I was doing a Latin jazz album, and he said, wait! And he ran out of the room, grabbed his guitar, and comes sailing back in, and I pressed record on my phone because I thought, I wonder if I'll ever have this opportunity again to spend with Randy. So he started playing all these beautiful songs, one after another, and then we were singing together on some of his hits, some of the songs from the Guess Who, and it was really a fun moment. But this is the song that remained in my mind mostly. And in fact, I said to him, I'd like to record it. He said, go right ahead. I'd be glad. This is A Taste of Paradise.
When the music's hot at midnight and I hold you Together forever in paradise. I was very fortunate to meet Oscar Hernandez, the great arranger and composer, a couple of years back. And then my drummer, Jimmy Branley, said to me, you know, Carol, you should really have him produce your Latin jazz album because he's so wonderful. And he really is. He's done all these great arrangements. And this is another one. This is a song that became famous. In fact, a lot of the songs on the Dance With Me album are famous boleros and Latin tunes that have never been done in English. And I wrote the lyrics along with my friend Joe Perry, and we did English adaptations to these beautiful songs. So this is one, the original song is called Mi Amor Fugaz, and we have called it Femme Fatale. Hope you like it. Touch and you'll be yearning. Look in my eyes, you'll be falling. Soon I will hear you calling me your femme fatale. Kiss me now, my lips are sinful. You will think you've gone to heaven. One more kiss, you're in my power. There's no escaping me now. I used to think love was forever, but promises are broken. For each heart that's been forsaken, I steal the love away. I'm the flame that you are drawn to. You can't stop and you don't want to. Danger's what you're holding on to, because I am your femme fatale. To think love was forever, but promises are broken. For each heart that's been forsaken, I steal the love away. I'm the flame that you are drawn to. You can't stop and you don't want to. Danger's what you're holding on to, because I am your femme fatale. Danger's what you're holding on to, because I am your femme fatale. The world lost one of the most beautiful composers named Armando Manzanero earlier this year. And I would like to pay a special tribute to him because this is one of the most beautiful songs I think he ever wrote. Yesterday I heard the rain whispering your name, asking where you'd gone. It fell softly from the clouds on the silent crowds as I wandered on. Out of doorways, black umbrellas came to pursue me. Faceless people, as they passed, were looking through me. No one knew me. Yesterday I shut my eyes, face up to the skies, drinking in the rain. But your image still was there, floating in the air, brighter than a flame. Yesterday I saw a city full of shadows without pity, and I heard the steady rain whispering your name, whispering your name. Esta tarde vi llover, vi gente correr y no estabas tú. El otoño vi llegar, al mar oí cantar y no estabas tú. Ya no sé cuánto me quieres, si me extrañas o me engañas. Yo solo sé que vi llover, vi gente correr y no estabas tú. And I heard the steady rain whispering your name, whispering your name. Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing somewhere beyond the sea. He's there waiting for me. And if I could fly like birds on high, then straight to his arms I go sailing. And it's far beyond a star, it's near beyond the moon. And I know beyond a doubt that my heart will lead me there soon. And we'll meet beyond the shore, we'll kiss just like before. Happy we will be beyond the sea, and never again I go sailing. Where but I do there, but I do you do da, if but I do, we but I do, we but I do 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 Voyez près des étangs ces grands roseaux mouillés. Voyez ces oiseaux blancs et ces maisons rouillées. We'll meet beyond the shore, we'll kiss just like before. Happy we will be beyond the sea, and never again I go sailing. And never again I go sailing. And never again I go sailing. That's such a great song. Love it. Charles Trenet wrote that. It was originally in French. Beyond the Sea. Wow. Bobby Darin. Lots of other people have sung that song.
I thought I would wait till the evening to record this next song because it requires a certain amount of ambiance, especially since it's got a little bit of a Latin tinge, and we're going to raise the temperature a bit right now.
Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight. Fever in the morning, and fever right through the night. Sun lights up the daytime, moon lights up the night. I light up when you call my name, and you know I'm gonna treat you right. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight. Fever in the morning and fever right through the night. Everybody's got the fever, that is something you all know. Fever isn't such a new thing, fever started long ago. Romeo loved Juliet, Juliet, she felt the same. When he put his arms around her, he said, Julie, baby, you're my flame. Now give us fever, fever. When we kiss her, fever without flaming youth. Fever, I'm a fire, fever, yeah, I burn forsooth. Smith and Pocahontas had a very mad affair, and when her daddy tried to kill him, she said, "Daddy, oh don't you dare, he gives me fever." When he kisses the fever, when he holds me tight, fever, I'm his missus, so Daddy, won't you treat him right? You've listened to my story. Here's the point that I have made. Chicks were born to give you fever, be it Fahrenheit or centigrade. They give you fever when you kiss them, fever when you hold them tight, fever till you sizzle, and what a lovely way to burn. When you kiss them, a fever till you live and learn. Fever till you sizzle, and what a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn.
It's always nice on a March evening to think about the next season that's coming up. A lot warmer and a lot sweeter.
I'm as restless as a willow in a windstorm. I'm as jumpy as a puppet on a string. I'd say that I had spring fever, but I know it isn't spring. I'm starry-eyed and vaguely discontented, like a nightingale without a song to sing. Oh, why should I have spring fever? Wishing I was somewhere else, walking down a strange new street. I'm hearing words that I have never heard from a God that I've yet to meet. I'm as busy as a spider's been daydreaming. Giddy as a baby on a swing, and I haven't seen a crocus or a rosebud or a robin on the wing. Well, I feel so gay in a melancholy way that it just might as well be spring. It might as well be spring. keep wishing I was somewhere else, walking down that strange new street. And I'm hearing words that I have never heard from a guy that I've yet to meet. I'm as busy as a spider spinning daydreams. I'm as giddy as a baby on a swing. And I haven't seen a crocus or a rosebud or a robin on the wing. But I feel so gay in a melancholy way that it just might as well be spring in my well, be spring. It might as well be spring.
George Gershwin wrote this next song, but you may not recognize it right away because it really is based on a Charlie Parker saxophone solo that he blew one day. And then his friend Eddie Jefferson came along and wrote some very clever lyrics over top of the saxophone solo. So it's George Gershwin's Oh Lady Be Good. And I want to make special mention of the beautiful trumpet solo you're going to hear in this. And that was the great late Wallace Roney, who passed away this past year from COVID-19. It's tragic. His playing is so wonderful, and I have this beautiful memento of his. This is called Disappointed.
Fooling around with a handsome fella. He said that he was all alone, and then I could come by his home, where he went out to lunch with me. And a couple of times I took him out to see a movie or two, and never ever thinking that he would do that to me. Yes, every evening I used to call him on the floor and up just how much I wanted him so. And there is no mistake, my heart would surely break if he should ever say goodbye. Why, I thought I'd die, if not survive without his sweet tenderness and his lovely caress. I'm a fool, I confess. just left one evening and he didn't even say he's leaving. I went by yourself to take him out to dinner. We were gonna have a steak, but when I knocked upon the door, there was no answer. Whoa, I never wanted to know how he never even talked about standing around waiting. He was halfway out of town. I figured maybe he had something in the store to get a couple of things he needed because he knew I'd wait around. I decided to start smoking cigarettes because I just knew that he'd be back in plenty of time. And the first thing I knew, an hour, then two, and then three went by. All my cigarettes were gone and I was wondering to myself, what in the world had happened? When the lady from the store came up to me and said, I know you're the woman that's coming around. I don't know how this is gonna sound, but he called, he's out of town. He told me to tell you that he won't be back because he's lost it with his lover because he's married. Why in the world did he do it? I could have been, oh, so good for him. I guess I never really think about him much now. I got myself a new guy and he's swell and he's fine. The late, great Wallace Roney on trumpet. This next song has become one of my favorite ballads, and I was so thrilled to hear that Peggy Lee enjoyed this song as much as she did. In fact, I was very fortunate to meet her granddaughter, Holly Foster Wells, and she lives here in Los Angeles, and she told me that her grandmother always really just wanted to have a beautiful home on a hill and have a family and be a homemaker and do all the things that she wasn't really able to do because she was touring all the time, and she longed for that. So this is a song that always reminded her of what her biggest dream was. Someday we'll build a home on a hilltop high, you and I, shiny and new, a cottage that two can fill, and we'll be pleased to be called the folks who live on the hill. Someday we may be adding a thing or two, a wing or two. We will make changes as any family will, and we'll be pleased to become the folks who live on the hill. Our veranda will command a view of meadows green, the sort of view that seems to wanna be seen. And when our kids grow up and leave us, we'll sit and look at that same old view, just we two, Janie and Joe, who used to be Jack and Jill, and we'll be pleased to be called what we have always been called. The folks who live on the hill.
I want to take you back to the Latin side now, and another song from my album Dance With Me, which was released in July of 2020, mid-pandemic, my goodness. Anyway, this was written by Jimmy Branley, my drummer, and I, and also Joe Perry wrote the lyrics with us. So this is a really tropical tune, a feel-good song, and you're welcome to join in on the choruses if you like, with the oh, 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 ohs. You'll get a feel for it right away. This is Island Lullaby.
Island lullaby, sing to me a while under your starry sky. Whisper sweet and low the words I love you so on this moonlit night. Island melody, stay you stay with me no matter how far away I roam. You're my song of love, all I'm dreaming of, now my heart is home. Oh, oh, let the music of my guitar take me to where you are, island. Oh, oh, you're the rhythm that calls to me, suddenly I am free. Island lullaby, lazy breezes sigh in your endless summertime. In the setting sun, the sand and sea are one, how we harmonize. Island melody, diamond in the sea, with you I can never feel alone. Oh, you're my song of love, and all I'm dreaming of, now my heart is home. Oh, oh, let the music of my guitar lead me to where you are, island. Oh, oh, you're the rhythm that calls to me, and suddenly I am free. Island lullaby. Oh, oh, how I wanna be swept away and be with you night and day. Island. Oh, oh, like the wind and the waves we rhyme, now till the end of time. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Island lullaby, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Sing to me tonight, island melody, diamond in the sea. With you I can never feel alone. You're my song of love, all I'm dreaming of, where my heart is home. Oh, you're my song of love, all I'm dreaming of, where my heart is home.
That was the great Justo Almario on saxophone, and he's also featured on this next song. This is a great standard, and wow, suddenly when Oscar was asking me, the producer, he was asking me if I had a favorite standard that I thought might work well in the Latin vein, and this one came up. I've never recorded this before, but this is a great song. And it does feature Justo Almario on the saxophone, and playing bass is Rene Camacho, and Joey De Leon on percussion, and Jimmy Branley on the drums. That's who you're hearing when you hear these Latin songs. This is also from Dance With Me. I hope you're having fun. I know it's a very intimate setting here, but just you and me. This is You and the Night and the music. You and the night and the music fill me with flaming desire, setting my being completely on fire. You and the night and the music thrill me, but will be one after the night and the music are done. Until the pale light of dawning daylight, hearts will be throbbing guitars, and morning may come without warning and take away the stars. If we must live for the moment, love till the moment is through. After the night and the music die, will I have you? Until the pale light and dawning of daylight, the hearts will be throbbing guitars, and morning may come without warning and take away the stars. If we must wait for the moment, and love till the moment is through. After the night and the music die, will I have you? Oh, that's so much fun. I love that. That's the next song. You weren't supposed to hear that, but maybe it's a good way to get into it. This is a song that is going to go back to the Alone Together album, and it's going to feature Wallace Roney again, the late, great Wallace Roney. And this is a song by a woman who I met in New York. And now her name, of course, is escaping me, but Marcia Hillman, that's it. And she is, she's a very prolific songwriter. This is a song called The Blues Are Out of Town. This is the only good feeling blues from the standpoint that it's a positive message. I mean, blues, it's usually, you're kind of down and out and all this stuff, but now we've sent the blues out of town. So here we go. Spend my time just feeling sorely. I can't believe the change is coming over me. Nothing can bring me down. I guess the blues are out of town. My friends keep telling me that I don't look the same. I'm absolutely certain that you're the one to blame. 'Cause since you've been around, I guess the blues are out of town. Blues just packed their bags and left in the night. I never even saw them go. They seemed to disappear without a goodbye. The moment that you said hello, I threw it moaning low and no more feeling sad. The love you give me is the best that I've had. I've gone from lost to found because the blues are out of town.
The moment that you said hello, I'm off feeling low and no more feeling sad, because the love you give me is the best that I've had. I've gone lost for found out because the blues are out of town. That's Rufus Reed on bass, Lewis Nash on drums. That's quite a rhythm section. We had a lot of fun, I have to tell you. It's been great fun being with you at the Lakeland Jazz Festival. And I would like to thank all my musicians, because I know they were trying their best to be here, and hopefully they'll be tuning in. And thanks to everybody at the festival for having me. I'd like to leave you on a positive note. This is a song that I wrote called Revelations. I wrote it for the album and with a bit of an Afro-Cuban feel, and it's got an uplifting message, and I know we all need music so much these days. So stay safe, stay well, and keep the music going. Opportunity starting to shine. Open windows, colored rainbows, new horizons each step of the way. It's the dawning of tomorrow beginning today. It's your light that will guide you along the road, discovering just what treasures await. You must believe in the mystery as it unfolds, or you can fly higher than high. Close your eyes and simply enjoy the ride. Seize the moment like it's stolen from a story about to be told. Be a dreamer, and you'll smile as each dream turns to gold. Revelations, invitations, on the journey just follow the signs. Feel the power in your heart, and the stars will align. It's the love of the world, it's much easier to see with clarity and peace of mind. But the divine as it unfolds, so you can fly higher than high, and close your eyes and simply enjoy the ride. the journey, just follow the signs. Feel the power in your heart and the stars will align. You're on top of the world, it's much easier to see with clarity and peace of mind. And the universe will decide where you go from here, so you can fly higher than high. And close your eyes and simply enjoy the
This concludes tonight's concert. Thank you for watching. In closing, we would like to acknowledge several people whose talent and efforts made this year's festival possible. First and foremost, Chuck Frank. Mr. Frank was the founding father of the Lakeland Jazz Festival. He recently passed on, but his vision of a jazz festival that would inspire the music community began in 1972 and continues today. A big thank you to our college president, Morris Beveridge, our executive vice president and provost, Laura Bernard, our dean of arts and science, Adam Cloutier, our department chair, Matthew Saunders, and festival co-director, Steve Stanziano. On campus, we were assisted by the video production department, Philip Boyle and Sam Pastorio, Senior Secretary, Jerry Pilarczyk, and the Marketing Department, Colleen Marble and Tracy Shook. A special thanks to Steve Frumkin and Jim Wadsworth of JWP Productions, John Simna of WCLV and IdeaStream, and the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra, especially Scott Garlock and Lynn Gerace. A salute to this year's guest artist, Joe Lovano, saxophonist, Jim McNeely, arranger, and the musicians of the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra, and vocalist and pianist Carol Welsman and her musicians. Also, a big thanks to all the music educators and students who participated in this year's solo contest. A special thank you to Greg Fishman, who provided the backing tracks for our solo contest. His educational materials can be found at gregfishmanjazzstudios.com. And a special thank you to our audience. We miss you and can't wait to see you at next year's 50th anniversary of the Lakeland Jazz Festival. Stay well and be safe.